Hey guys, so today we are repotting catasetums, and these are just 3 of the catasetums that I need to repot this spring. Get ready for a lot of repotting videos, especially to deal with catasetums because I have a ton that need repotted. So first of all, let's look at our catasetums and see where they are at in their stages of growth. Some of my catasetums have leaves, some of them do not. Some of them have been dormant since November, and some of them are just now going into dormancy, haven't put out any growths, and yeah, it's just crazy. You really have to read your own individual catasetum or catasetum related orchid like the Mormodis or Cycnoches. You have to read the orchid to determine whether or not the plant is ready to be repotted and whether or not it's putting out its new growth for the springtime. I like to repot my catasetums every year. I know that some people will repot them like any other orchid, which is every 2 years. But I use a time-released fertilizer on my catasetums in addition to a liquid fertilizer because these guys are such heavy feeders. They love, love, love fertilizer when they are in active growth. So I lay it on thick and they really seem to respond well to that. Okay, so first one we have here is my Catasetum sanguineum by Susan Fuchs, and you can see the new growth right there, and it should be putting out more growths. I don't see any right now, but I want to get it out of this sphagnum mixture that it is potted in. If we take a look at the roots, you can see just how extensive they are, and many of these are dead roots. This one has been dormant for a while now. So most of the roots that are in this pot are actually deteriorating or already dead. So catasetum roots don't always die completely, but I do believe that they deteriorate over the winter time. So whether they fully die or they start to deteriorate, they're just not as efficient at taking up water as the new growths are going to be. So those new growths are really what you're relying on here to supply your catasetum with all of the nutrients that it's going to receive during its growth period. Now, this is why some people treat their catasetums like tulips. They will cut off all of the old roots and sometimes force their catasetum into dormancy. So you can really grow your catasetums either way. You can grow them still in the pot over the winter time as long as you keep the media dry, or you can treat them like tulip bulbs and cut off all of the old roots and rely on this newer growth. I like to keep mine in their old pots until the springtime, and then that way I can repot just to make sure that there aren't actually any live roots. This is a method, though, that I will usually only use in situations that call for it. In this case, I think it was definitely justified because I did have the other bulb suffer from a bacterial infection, and so in order to stop the spread of the infection, I had to cut off that rotting bulb. It was no good to me anymore. I tossed it, soaked this in hydrogen peroxide, and it's good as new, putting out its new growth. Now, the new growths, if you keep them in a closet or in your garage, the new growths will be whitish in color. Actually, this one right here, you can really see is whitish in color. This one has been kept in my closet for its dormancy period because they don't need any sunlight and they like the cooler temperatures. So I've been keeping this one in my closet, and you can see that the new growth is white in color. So the new growths will be white, but then over time they will turn green. Ooh. They will turn green, and you can see this one throwing out its new growth. I actually thought this one was a spike because I still have leaves on here. And normally, the growth cycle for catasetums is to grow their pseudobulbs, mature their pseudobulbs, start to go into dormancy, throw out a spike. Sometimes they will drop all of their leaves before throwing out a spike. but most of the time you won't see the new growth when the old growth still has leaves. But as I said, catasetums can be unpredictable at times, and you really just have to be flexible. So you can see the new growth for this catasetum right here. It also has some new roots coming in. So this guy is ready to be potted up. Now, next thing that you want to do is you want to select a pot for your catasetum. So I'll take this one out of here. I had it in the heavier pot because it is top heavy, as you can see. So I'm going to be selecting a heavier pot for this one for the new growing season. You can use plastic or terracotta. It doesn't really matter. I know some people that even grow their catasetums in wooden slat baskets. So whatever sort of container that you decide to use, you want to make sure that the potting medium is something suitable for your catasetum. So consider the fact that if you use a more open or airy sort of container, that you're going to be watering a lot, because when catasetums are in their active stage of growth, they love to be evenly moist. So they don't really prefer to dry out all the way. They like to be kept evenly moist when they are in their active stage of growth. So this is why I use a lot of plastic pots for my catasetums. Now the mix that I'm going to be using is the Phalaenopsis Gold Classic Orchid Mix from repotme.com. You guys probably saw this in my latest unboxing video. So this is the medium of choice for me. I like it because it has a lot of sphagnum moss in there, and I'm hoping that the addition of sponge rock and the fine fir bark will add a little bit of a more open and airy mix, so I won't have to worry about bulb rot. So you've selected your pot and you have chosen your medium, and I also wanted to make mention of packing peanuts. I use packing peanuts in all of my catasetum pots. It just ensures me that the catasetums are not going to be sitting in water, and their roots will actually seek out these packing peanuts. Let me guys show you an example. So here I've slightly unpotted this catasetum, and you can see all of the roots just clinging on for dear life to the packing peanuts. So I'm removing the media right now, and if you guys can see, the roots are actually going through this packing peanut right here. So like I said, the roots of catasetums just love the packing peanuts. They love to bury their roots into the packing peanuts. I just thought I'd show you guys this. Now, some catasetums are going to be harder to repot than others because this sphagnum has remained dry for so long. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to soak this root ball to loosen up the sphagnum moss, and then I will continue on with the video. Okay, so you guys can see that I've removed all of the media from the roots here, and you can see there's quite a lot of live roots throughout this root ball here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut away the ones that are obviously dead, and you can see the new roots coming in right there on the new growth. So I've selected the pot that I'm going to use. I have my packing peanuts in here, and we are going to get started. Now, if you guys are worried about cutting off of any of the older roots, or you're worried you're going to take off too much, like I said before at the beginning of this video, don't really worry about it so much because, as I said, because the catasetums go dormant, their older roots aren't as efficient at taking up moisture and nutrients as these new roots are going to be. So even if you do take off a little bit too much, your catasetum will be fine. I have my sterilized pair of scissors here, and I'm just going to cut the obviously dead roots off. All right, and I'm just going to leave the remaining roots attached to the catasetum. All right, so first thing that goes into my pots is the packing peanuts. Next thing that goes in is a small layer my preferred medium of choice, so it's mainly sponge rock and sphagnum moss. So a small layer there. As you can see, it just barely covers the packing peanuts. Next thing going in is some Osmocote, which is a slow release fertilizer. Because catasetums are such heavy feeders, I want to make sure that they get all of the nutrients that they need for the new growing season. So I will just put a small layer of Osmocote into the pot here. Okay. And I will place the catasetum into the pot and fill around with the sphagnum moss here. I want to make sure that there is enough room for this new growth to grow upwards and outwards, so you can sort of get an idea for how big this new bulb is going to be by looking at the older growths, and it should be as big or just bigger than the one prior to it. So I'm making sure that there is enough area over here for this bulb to expand outwards. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more of the slow release fertilizer. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a stake, and I'm going to tie the catasetum to the stake. That way it's not moving around while the new growth is maturing. Hey guys, so here is the finished product. We have our catasetum all potted and ready for the new growing season. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned because at the end of this video I will repot the rest of the catasetums that I showed you in the beginning of this film. So after you are done repotting your catasetums, you're going to want to put them in a bright location, but make sure that it doesn't get any direct sunlight just yet. The catasetums are still in their dormancy phase and they're just beginning to wake up, so you don't want to give them too much light too soon. So put them in a bright location with plenty of shade, and as the new growths get larger, you can start increasing the light. But remember, the gender of the flower spikes is determined partially by the light. So the more light you give your catasetum, the more likely chance you will have a female spike. Now, if you enjoy the female spikes and you're wanting to breed, then your goal has been achieved. But if you're like me and you like the male blooms because the males are typically more showy and beautiful than the females are, then you're going to want to keep your catasetums in dappled light with no more than 1 to 2 hours of direct sunlight per day. And that will hopefully ensure you guys to get those beautiful male blooms. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comments section of this video and I will be sure to answer them. And as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and of course, like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one in the future, and I will see you guys later.